A very warm welcome to all of you. Today I will talk about Class 11 Political Science, both of the books' first chapter. That is Political Theories, first chapter, Political Theory and Introduction. Indian Constitution book, first chapter, Constitution, Why and How. Let's first talk with Political Theories, first chapter, Political Theory and Introduction. Mainly in this chapter we will have the introductory, as for every chapter of any subject. Firstly, we will have the introductory part of the chapter, Introduction to Politics, study of political theory, practice of political theory, rule of law, introduction to political theory, steps to build up theory in a subject, features of a good theory, rule of political theorist, role of political theorist, discuss of different theory in different time, and utility of political theory, difference of traditional and modern political theory. So, not wasting the time, let's start with our first topic, which is Introduction to Politics. Politics is the process actually by which group of people make collective decisions. Actually, this politics involves the use of power and resources to manage conflicts, allocate resources and establish policies and laws that govern a community or a society. Okay. Now, study of political theory. Study of political theory. Actually, political theory is explaining us about the political world and how we can create it. Now let's understanding with the concepts. It will include democracy, equality, individuality and justice. Though political theory also makes us understand our present political reality and political principles. Next, practice of political theory. Actually, the origin of political theory is from freedom, equality, citizenship, justice, development, nationalism and secularism. By this only we can practice political theory. Now, what is rule of law? Rule of law is a fundamental principle that ensures that all individuals in institutions, including government, are accountable to law, which is in one line, all are equal before law. Okay. Now, introduction to political theory. So, mainly what is political theory? Isn't it? Mainly, what is political theory? It is a generalized statement, also a judgment you can say, about politics. Actually, political theories are concepts which are also governized about the political life involving idea about nature, purpose and features of government, whereas of state and society and political capability of human beings. Okay. Now, the steps to build up theory in a subject. How can you build up theory in any subject? Before that, you need to know what is a theory. Theory is a judgment which explains the whole thing. Okay. So, the main steps for building a theory of a subject is observation, explanation, value judgment, and acceptance on the basis of its utility and relevance. Now, features of good theory: it is totally free from subjectivity. It is on discussion, debate, rational thinking. Preferably, if we say, it is based on empiricism, and always theory must be clean and good and relevant. Now, the last but not the least, it should have a moral significance with social and economic significance. Now, role of political theorist. What is political actually theorist does? The theorist gives the new meaning of different concepts by studying and analyzing the prevent circumstances of the whole society. Discuss of different theory in different time. Actually, if I would say, it is the direction of society. It is the conservation. It is the conservation of the society. Now, role of political theorists like as Mahatma Gandhi, if I would say, actually he had played a decisive role in the liberation movement in India. He explained the relevance peace and not violence in saying of problems making at the large. But political theory is always used to clarify the meaning of political concepts which are made and built to represent certain situations. Okay. Now next, different theories at a different time. Okay. Actually, justice has been defined differently by Plato and Aristotle, the famous sociologist, physiologist. Okay. Actually, the addition of the essential concept of institution as per requirement of the people and which may accepted by the people of that age is differently from Plato to Marx. In the same way, a fact that some issue has been defined, theorized and understood differently at different point of time. Next, unity of the political theory, which I would like to see. The utility of political theory. Practice of policies of the future, and though it helps in search and conceptualization, whereas it offers two complementary political problems and also helps removing the prevailing confusion of society, and though it acts as inspiration for the society. Last but not the least of the chapter 1 constitution, before chapter, that is political theory and introduction, that is the difference between of political and modern, traditional political and modern political theory. That traditional is subjective whereas modern is objective. Traditional approach is descriptive whereas modern is imperial. Traditional is hypothetical, modern is scientific, whereas traditional is value based, modern is interdisciplinary. Traditional is institutional, but modern is on the facts. Traditional is philosophical, whereas modern is analytical. This way, we are coming to the end of the chapter of your book Political Theory, the first chapter, Political Theory and its introduction. Now let's move to Constitution, why and how. Let me just get the study objectives, then it will be much easier for me to, because I don't need any book, but I need the concepts which are there in your syllabus for this upcoming year. Okay, so the first introductory parts comes with the introduction to Constitution. What do you mean by the Constitution? Functions of Constitution, role of Constitution in our society, the fundamental rights, goals of society, fundamental identity of people, mode of promulgation, substantive provisions of a constitution, balanced institutional design, formation of Indian Constitution, composition of Constituent Assembly, principle of deliberation, nationalist movement, institutional arrangements, importance of Constitution, adoption of Constitution by Constituent Assembly of India, preamble of India and its importance. Constitution of India came into force 1950. Indian Constitution flexible and rigid. Why our Constitution is borrowed? Yes, it is taken from US and Canada from the outer states because of fundamental rights and rule of law. I will discuss with that. And the last but not the least, 5 topics left, that is India is socialist, secular, sovereign, democratic republic, significance of cabinet mission plan, features of written constitution, powers, democracy in India's constitution, features of cabinet mission plan. So according to first one, what is constitution? What is constitution? Okay. Actually, constitution is set of rules according to which the government or the country runs. Actually, constitution defines the rights and duties of citizens and the good relation between government and its citizens. Then, functions. It builds a degree of trust and ensures coordination among the people. Mainly, a constitution clearly lays down the details about the information and formation of government. Though it states the rights of citizens of the country, but the outline the powers and functions of different branches of government establishes the rule of law. As the first I have told that all are equal before law, which used to protect individual rights and sets the basic principles of the functioning of a democratic and sovereign republic. Next comes our role. Actually, it determines the relationship of citizens with government. Like in the constitution, to run a good relation, it is actually the part of its role. Though it also protects and provides the basic rights to all the sovereign of our countries, the citizen of our countries. And also, constitution specifies on how the government would be elected and who will have the power and the responsibility to take important decisions. Now the next comes fundamental rights. Those are the basic rights enriched in the Constitution of India, which are granted to all the citizens of India, which is applied without discrimination on the basis of race, religion, gender, caste, etc. Now, significantly, why they are called fundamental rights? They are enriched in constitutions which guarantees them. Secondly, they are justifiable, and in case of a Victorian, a person can approach a court of law. Now we know India is having 6 fundamental rights in the constitution. So what are the fundamental rights? Article 14 to 18, right to equality. 19 to 22, right to freedom. 23 to 24 of article is right against exploitation. Right to freedom of religion. Right to freedom of religion is from article 25 to 28. Cultural and educational rights. Article 29 to 30. Right to constitutional remedies. Article 32. Now, goals of a society. So, what are the goals of a society? A society, you need to know what is society. According to the definition, society is that a group of people living in a community without any discrimination, inequality, prejudice, stereotype. A society is actually a group of individuals involved in social interaction, or a large social group sharing the same social territory, actually subject to same political authority and dominant cultural expectations. Okay. Goal. It is actually the goal of society is to promote the protection and well-being of its members. To promote the protection, societies are formed to provide a safe and secure environment for their members who live in. Now, fundamental identity of the people. Nothing is there actually. When people as a collective entity, okay, when people as a collective entity come in view, being only through the basic constitution, it is by agreeing to a basic set of norms about how one should be governed and who should be governed that one forms a collective identity. Mode of promulgation. Mode of promulgation. The mode of promulgation talks about how a constitution comes into being, who crafted the constitution, and what is the limit of their authority. Some fruitful constitution like India, South Africa were made as a consequence of well-known public developments. Now comes to balanced institutional design. Actually, here is no single group can subvert constitution. Well, from crafting the constitution, the fragment power in society, checks and balances, which we can identify from class 10 in civics. It ensures that no single institution acquires monopoly to power. This is often an fragmenting power across different institutions. Next, formation of Indian Constitution. Like the Constitution was drafted by Constituent Assembly, which was elected members of the provincial assemblies. The 389 member assembly reduced to 229 after the partition of India took almost 3 years to draft the constitution, holding 11 sessions over a 165-day period. Composition of Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly was to have 389 members, out of which 296 were to be elected by the British Indian provinces and 93 were to be nominated members of various princely states. 296 members were put in the general category, but actually minus 212 were put in the general category. What is coming out? Hence, from 296, 212 were put in the general category. 4 seats were reserved for Sikhs and Muslims, because India gives a sovereign to all the religion and also practices in the country all the religion. No religion in India is banned or it is not given the allocation to practice. That is why this has been formed. The principle of deliberation. Actually, the principle of deliberation, it refers to the process which carefully considering and discussing various options or viewpoints before making a decision. Actually, it involves thoughtful analysis, weighting the pros and cons, and engaging in a meaningful dialogue to reach a well-informed Conclusion. Nationalism. It is a mass movement where the people of India started having a feeling of nationalism in their hearts. The nationalism feeling helped the Indians to speak up. Therefore, Indians started to revolt against the Britishers or the English people. Institutional arrangements. The institutional arrangements are the policies, systems, and processes that organizations use to legislate, plan, and manage their activities efficiently and to effectively coordinate with others in order to fulfill mandate. Though different types of examples we can assume include a contract or a sharecropping agreement between landlord and a farmer, a producers organization, and so on. Among the farmers, perhaps to jointly purchase inputs to deliver produce or clients actually. I think more 10 to 13 topics are left. Achha. Next it is coming importance of constitution. Now constitution safeguards the rights and liberties of the citizens. Also it checks the misuse of power by the government. The Constitution lays down rules for the composition and powers of government and so on. This is enough to know for now. Next, when did the Constituent Assembly adopt the Constitution of India? Means the topic of Constituent Assembly. Actually, the Constitution of India was adopted by Constituent Assembly in 26 November 1949 and it came into force 26 January 1950. That is why it is 26 January in every year it is regarded as the Republic Day. Now, what is preamble and importance of preamble? It is a great introduction to Constitution. It underlines the main objectives which Constitution is intended to achieve. The importance of preamble, we can say, the soul of Constitution or the Constitution source of constitutional powers, nature of Indian state, aims, objectives to be achieved in a phased manner have been implicitly suggested therein. When did Constitution came into force and how? Constitution of India came force on 26 January as I told, because the significance of struggle, the significance of India, actually for the significance of India's freedom for its, India's struggle for its freedom. Sorry, India's struggle for its own freedom. It is the first state session was in Lahore in December 1929. Congress has passed a resolution declaring the Purna Swaraj, which you have also read in history in the chapter 2, the Russian Revolution. Then next chapter, the Indian Revolutionary something was that. In that you will get to know. It was also for the first time complete Independence Day was celebrated in 26 January 1930 and continued to be observed as such very sincere. In order to keep the memory of this day alive, it was decided to enforce the constitution of this day. How Indian constitution is flexible and rigid. Actually, constitution is also called a partly flexible and partly rigid because of the beauties of the Indian constitution. Actually, the amendment of our Indian constitution can be made in the different ways. Actually, there are three ways. Where articles can be amended by simple majority of both the houses. Secondly, amendments can be made by 2/3 majority of both houses Indian legislature and approved by at least 1/2 of Legislative Assembly of India, whereas the third one is amendments can be made by 2/3 majority of the houses of Union legislature, that is Parliament. Why the borrowation or the borrow of our constitution was from the other countries? As I told, the first one is rule of law and the parliamentary form of government, law-making procedures in parliament, whereas office of Speaker of Lok Sabha and his role, and from the Constitution of USA, farmers of Indian Constitution borrowed the importance of fundamental rights and supreme power of judicial review and independence of judiciary. Then usually debatable topic comes, India is a socialistic, secular, sovereign democratic republic. Here, India is a sovereign as Indians are dependent on their own, and our country is independent to adopt their policies, internal as well as external. There is no compulsion on constraint from outside. Actually, India is a socialist state. Is that because of the aims of the established society and the patterns of the society. Actually, India is a republic in the sense that the head of the state is elected by the people for fixed tenure. Now, the significance of Cabinet Mission Plan. Cabinet Mission Plan was appointed by the British government only in 1946 to discuss the modalities of the Constituent Assembly with the Indian leaders. Okay. Now, some features of Cabinet Mission Plan we can say as like the province and princely states were allowed seats proportional to their respective population. Seats in each province were distributed among the three main communities that were Muslim, Sikhs and generals, whereas members of each community in the provincial legislative assembly elected their own representative. The method of selection was to be determined by constitution. Now, next comes important features of written constitution. The constitution to be taken as written but does not mean that there cannot be an unwritten constitution. Actually, British constitution is an unwritten constitution which is working on the basis of unwritten understandings, traditions and conventions. But most of the countries of the world are their written constitution, which are in form of a document written by specially constructed constituent assembly. Actually, a written constitution is generally available in the form of a document that is prepared by continuous decision and debate, and which with due process of decision making. Now it comes powers democrated in Indian Constitution. Actually, the basic principle on which the Constitution worked was that the government must be democratic and committed to the welfare of the people. The distributions of power in the union list, it was 96 subjects. In the state list, it was 68 subjects, and the concurrent list, it was 47 subjects. As you know, from class 9 and 10, there are 3 lists in our constitution. Actually, it led to distribution of power between legislature and executive on the hand, and between central and state government. Now, the last topic but not the least, what do we actually mean by the preamble of the Constitution? Preamble is a document with a constitution begins, by which constitution is beginning. It is a declaration of the objectives, a sort of preface with framers of the constitution. It explains the brief philosophy of the constitution. It declares its aims, principles and ideas, and the constitutional and political principle of the society in which it is implemented. So today I have completed with the first chapters of both the books, Political Theory and Indian Constitution, Chapter 1, Political Theory and Introduction, and Chapter 1, Constitution, Why and How. Thank you for this much. If you have any problem, please consult in the comment section. I am there to know you. Okay, thank you.